Hello there and welcome to lesson 15 in the series to learn programming in Scratch. In today's program, we're going to do statistical calculations on the number of ostrich eggs gathered from several nests, and you will also learn how to use an array or list in Scratch. Ostriches are native to the desert areas of Africa, and for South Africans is especially synonymous with the area around OUDTSHOORN. Tourists who visit the ostrich farms in this area can learn about the history of the wealthy ostrich farmers from the 19th century. Ostriches, with their long necks, small heads, large eyes, and short bills, are approximately 2.4 meters high and can weigh up to 135 kilograms. That makes the ostrich the largest bird on Earth. Ostriches differ from other birds as they do not fly and only have 2 toes, while other birds can fly and usually have 4 toes. The ostrich can see very well, run fast, up to 65 kilometers an hour, and kick very hard. Ostriches mostly eat plant shoots, leaves, flowers, and seeds, although they will eat lizards and small tortoises when available. Like all birds, they have no teeth. They therefore swallow stones to help with digestion. The ostriches lay their eggs in a large sand cavity. Ostrich eggs are about 15 centimeters long, 13 centimeters wide, and weigh about 1.4 kilograms, more than 20 times as much as chicken eggs. Ostrich eggs have a thick shell that can withstand up to 250 kilograms. A female ostrich can lay an egg every day or two, but after she has laid about 15 eggs, she usually sits on the nest to hatch the eggs first. Ostrich farmers typically remove some of the eggs, since females can lay up to 80 eggs in a season. The extra ostrich eggs can then be hatched in breeding machines. The breeding time for ostriches is 42 days, twice as long as in chickens. The ostrich female and male takes turns to sit on the nest with eggs. The grey female looks like a karoo bush or rock while sitting on the nest during the day. The male has black feathers and can camouflage the nest at night. Most of the world's ostrich products come from South Africa. Ostrich products include biltong, feather dusters, and leather for handbags, coats, and shoes. Ostrich eggshells are used for ornaments and souvenirs, and ostrich meat is popular since it has fewer kilojoules than beef and is low in fat and cholesterol. Now answer the questions in your workbook. Now let's look at the new Scratch blocks that you can use for today's program. A list is a data structure that can store more than one element of the same kind. So instead of creating many variables, you create one list and refer to a specific element with the number of the index. To create a list, click on Variables and then click on Make a List. Then type a name for the list in the window that appears and click OK. This orange block from the variable group represents the list. You can display all the values in the list by putting this block in a Say block. You can also tick the box in front of the list to display the content of the list on stage. This orange block from the variable group is used to display or hide the list contents on the stage during the execution of the program. This orange block from the variable group removes all the items in the list named My List. The length of the list will be 0 after using this block. This orange block from the variable group adds an item at the end of the specified list. For example, if I want to read the names of 10 friends that I want to invite to my party in a list, I will use an Ask block and then add the Answer block to the list, like this. Now create a program in Scratch with an ostrich in the background and a farmer sprite. Save the program as Ostrich. Code the program to input the number of eggs laid in each of 5 nests and add the quantities to a list displayed on stage. Calculate the total number of eggs in all 5 nests and determine the minimum number of eggs in one nest and the maximum number of eggs in one nest as you enter the values. Display the total, the maximum and the minimum with captions at the bottom of the list. Save all the changes to the program. Here is an example of what your program might look like. Use the design cycle again. Ask questions, consider alternative solutions, plan your program, test the program repeatedly while coding, and reflect on what you've learned afterwards. Write down any questions you have about the exercise in your workbook. Discuss it with your friends or use the internet to find answers. For instance, do you wait to get all the numbers before you add them together? Can you keep track of them, the minimum and the maximum, simultaneously? Let me give you a hint. If someone slowly reads 5 numbers to you and you have to calculate the total, you will add each number you hear to the previous total as you hear it. You won't wait for all the numbers before you add it together. Now the same applies when you must determine the minimum. You will compare each new number with the previous minimum and keep track of the minimum that way. Think about different solutions. For instance, you will have to use a counter to know which nest data you enter. After the first number was entered, the cumulative total and the minimum and the maximum will be this number. And you can use a loop that repeats 4 times after setting the initial values. Or you can use the loop to repeat 5 times. Draw the design for the background and the position of the sprites and label the sprites. In this program you will need several variables. One to count at which nest you are, let's call it counter. One for the number of eggs at the nest corresponding with the counter, let's call that number. The total number of eggs, the maximum number of eggs, and the minimum number of eggs. Write your own algorithm for the code when the green flag is clicked, or use the algorithm given in the workbook. Then write your program and check that your program meets the criteria against this rubric. Finally, use the 6 thinking hats again to reflect on what you've learned today. In the next lesson, you will populate a list using a text file. Until then, goodbye.